Jameson Taillon.
Yo, good morning, part two. Apologize for the issues there. I'm gonna put on blast. I hate OBS right now. It's really pissing me off. It is really pissing me off right now. These issues that we're having that shouldn't be here. But anyways, I digress. Let's move on to our show. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I'm Anthony DiNardo. Jim, go ahead and speak for the people.
Hello, people. Hopefully, you can hear me on take two of what this is this morning.
So pissed, especially after the Jeopardy issues we had. This is
Yeah.
really pissing me off right now. So, anyways, now that you all get to hear my frustrations, let's go ahead and pick up where we were. I don't even think, obviously, if they weren't hearing your voice, I don't think the recording was going to hear your voice either. Therefore, we missed our entire breaks talking about you unpacking all your cards, all the everything. So I guess let's just pick up to kind of where we were about Jameson Taillon. They heard my takes, which was questions, and didn't hear any of the answers. So Jim, as you mentioned, I put out there more or less, would you trade? I guess sum it up. Would you trade Jameson Taillon right now, knowing he's coming off his second Tommy John, even if it was guys say that like the Pirates picked up in the Rule 5 draft, low A kind of guys with maybe some upside, not like I said, mentioned like Peguera's level, but some flyers or such. Would you go ahead and do so? And your answer was for the second time.
Answer was absolutely not. Jameson Taillon is worth more than that when he's healthy. Right now is going to be his lowest value of his entire career, probably. And let's not forget, in his last full season, he was an extremely good pitcher. So I think the Pirates' play here is to wait it out, see if he can become a productive starting pitcher again. And then at that point, then we can talk trading him. But right now, no team is going to give the Pirates what Jameson Taillon is worth. Mm-hmm. And that's, Jameson Taillon is not a guy that you flip for a flyer in single A who's just like a guy, right? I think Jameson Taillon is a guy that if he can perform to what he was doing when he was healthy, he's someone that you flip for potentially a top 75, top 50 prospect.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I said, I can get on board with that. I just find it to be a little bit intriguing depending on what the prospect package could be back again, like from the Yankees, who apparently were interested, because we just don't know if he can pitch. So kind of puts, again, like Charrington in that situation, because I feel like that's every player that the Pirates really have. We've been talking about, like, do you hold on to them to regain value, or do you just get what you can get for them? And now we're adding Jameson Taillon to that list, apparently because teams like the Yankees are checking in on him. So let's transition a little bit to Musgrove now, because we didn't really talk about that after the trade. Did we? Did we have a Starbucks last Wednesday? Did we talk about Joe Musgrove?
We had a Starbucks trade value last Wednesday.
Okay, so yeah, I guess we kind of
did. We talked about it. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, I mean, I know Joe Musgrove. Apparently, Adam Frazier also in trade talks. We haven't really heard any rumors. Potentially, I definitely see them both getting traded. Do you feel both well? I think Musgrove is a definite this year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I agree with you. It's just kind of a perfect sequence of events right now. The Pirates aren't good. They're not going to be good while Musgrove is here. He is a good pitcher. Teams want him. I think it's just a matter of time before Musgrove gets traded. He's someone that I would be surprised if he's on the team opening day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Yeah.
said, it could happen. I'm not saying like we could hold on to him, but I would be surprised.
Got you. And I fully agree. I think it just makes all the
Mhm.
sense in the world. I think he has enough value that you're not saying, let's try to hold on to him to regain. If he regains any more value, I think it's going to be minuscule compared to what he has right now. Whereas if he gets injured, it's going to be more detrimental to lose that value. So I'm with you there. Let's transition a little bit to Derek Shelton. So he apparently had some quotes to give out. Um, and this can tie into our little MLB talk as well, because as it stands right now, as Charrington mentioned, they're going into 2021, assuming that there is no DH this year. I guess MLB pretty much put out there, like, go with that assumption for now. And so Charrington came out and said that right now he's penciled in, all right, in the middle of December, he's penciled in for the 2021 season for the Pittsburgh Pirates, that Brian Hayes will be playing third, Brian Reynolds will be playing outfield, Polanco in right, Frazier at second, Stallings at catcher. Those are the positions he's penciled in. Mind you, didn't mention Josh Bell, didn't mention Colin Moran. So my first question, really, is why are we penciling anybody on a team that finished dead last in the entire MLB? Who deserves to be given that right?
Um, yeah, I guess he's penciling them in, and so I guess the what's nice about pencils is they come with erasers. If you
Okay,
need to use them.
right.
So I guess this isn't in ink. If it was ink, it's a little bit different. But pencil, it sounds like it. He's banking on those guys, being there. But I guess anything could happen, right? I am fine with Stallings like being told, hey, based off of what we have in the organization right now, like Jacob Stallings is your catcher. Like,
It's kind of by default.
yeah, like I mean I have no issues there at all.
Right.
The other ones, yeah, I don't really think anybody should be handed a job other than that. Even you look at Brian Hayes, where clearly he is way ahead of everybody for that third base job. I think, but I think you still don't go ahead and just give the job to him, right? I think you still say, hey, everybody's gonna get some at bats in spring training. We're gonna look at everybody in workouts, and then we're gonna pick and choose whoever is the best fit, right?
Sure.
So I am actually surprised that he went out and said like Hayes is one of the guys in there. Listen, Hayes he was great in his limited time last year, but that it was what it was. It was limited time. He hasn't had a ton of major league experience,
Mm-hmm.
and so hearing his name is a little surprising. Polanco Polanco has been terrible for a long time now.
He
So
has.
that's interesting. I don't know how you can pencil Polanco in somewhere, but you don't pencil in Bell. You know, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, weird quote. It just kind of. I think he was just trying to say something. To be honest, I'm not putting too much stock into this.
Sure.
Again, it's penciled in, so like it's subject to changes. But
I mean, that is a good way of putting it. Like you
not
mentioned,
a
it's penciled
not a
in.
lot there. I don't
They have
think.
an eraser. But I guess I just kind of found it odd that we're even having that talk right now in December. And yeah, like Brian Hayes is
Mhm.
one. Like he had a fantastic, I'm not taking anything away from what he did. But let's also, I mean, Colin Moran was, if Brian Hayes was the best hitter on the team last year, Colin Moran was the second best hitter. So to just more or less say, well, Colin, you've lost that job now, without going into spring or summer camp again this upcoming season.
Right.
Yeah, it just seemed
Yeah.
kind of, and also on top of that too, I guess if there's any positive that says that I guess they're not planning on him going back to AAA to play some service time game. So I guess you're looking at a Brian Hayes
Mhm.
day one on the Pirates. So that's kind of cool, I guess, in that sense. But yeah, like
Yeah, because
no,
really, you actually think about it. I didn't even look. What what kind of service time did he accumulate? Because I know it was like prorated last year,
Right.
so his 20 days or whatever it was in the major leagues isn't
Ugh.
wasn't really 20 days.
All this pressure. Every
Um,
time we go with this, I'm just like, oh, Ethan's gonna kill me. So
yeah,
I'm looking.
Ethan's probably like, how do you not know Key Brian
I know, right?
Hayes'
It's
service
just
time
it's just
right off the
simple
top of
math.
your head?
It's just
It's
simple math.
75 days. So he's at 75 days.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I mean, clearly the terrible thing to do here would be like, you know what? Let's hold Q Brian Hayes down until mid to late June.
Mm.
So, to squeak out that extra year out of him. Um, that it's not going to happen. But that would be, gosh, how much of a disaster would that be if they were like, you know what?
I mean, they don't have to do it all at once, Jim. They can get creative with it. They can hold him
What
down
if
until
they
May, and he comes up and he has like a week of struggling. Like, oh, we gotta put you back down.
like what happens if Hayes comes out spring training and
Uh-huh.
actually does struggle? Like, what if we kind of just bring up that example? Spring training, Hayes struggles, Bell and Moran are just dropping bombs.
Mm. I mean, that's probably the best
Like,
scenario for the Pirates. I mean, honestly, Nutting right now is
mhm.
listening to this, and saying, "Wow, if this happens, even Charrington,
Yeah.
I think Charrington would take that because if your issue is Moran and Bell are playing lights out, guess what, Jim? You got trade value. Get Brian back in AAA. Let him get his at bats. Let these guys get that trade
Uh,
value back, and ship him off in July 31st or whatnot. I mean, honestly, that probably the
yeah.
perfect scenario for the Pirates. And
I just
then August 1st,
imagine
Cabrian's just dominating.
imagine the quotes where it's like, you know what, he just clearly didn't, he clearly isn't ready yet for Major League Baseball.
Right?
We're going to give him a little bit more time to work on his swing. Oh God,
Especially after the year that like all of Pittsburgh has been pissed
yeah,
off that like he wasn't really
hmm
up there for Rookie of the Year. And now in
yeah,
their minds, right, you're putting the Rookie of the Year back in AAA because he's not ready.
yeah.
But I
Oh,
mean,
I
I
don't even
would
want
I
to
would
think about
welcome
it.
that
Yeah,
scenario as long
that would be
as
crazy.
2023 Cabrian Hayes is dominant. I'm good with that scenario.
Okay, because what this so Brian Hayes as of now is a Pirate through 2027.
Yes.
If he struggles, right, and he's down in the minors for 75 days,
Right.
70, well, actually, no, I guess it's 100, and it's going to be, he's got to be down there for about 87 days, 88 days. Um, so 2.5 months, two and a half, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get a whole other year out of him. But I don't see that happening. But that would be an interesting situation.
Now, I will say this, and this could be our great transition to our next segment. He needs to be down for 75 days, as you mentioned, right? 2.5 months, unless there's another prorated season, which,
Ooh,
Jim, it sounds like if MLB owners have their way, we're heading right into that once again. So there's an
well,
article.
DiNardo, they
Yeah,
lost so much money last year. They probably can't even afford to pay player salaries for a full year.
I don't think they can afford the lights on their stadiums. That's the
No,
problem. They
they're like my softball league.
exactly. It's gonna be like the Cubs all day games. Um, actually, could you imagine that MLB went to all day games just to save money on the lights, right? Like they start cutting expenses and such, and everything has to be a day game now. I mean, there's no fans, so it doesn't really matter. Everything's a day game. What else could we do? I don't know. I have to think about that, but yeah, MLB's coming
Yeah,
out and saying that. Well, they're saying a lot. They're saying a lot and very little. It's going to be a disaster in 2021. I can see it already. More or less, they've come out and said that. First off, to quote one anonymous GM, he said, if Biden's talking about a nationwide shutdown, how can we be talking and thinking about spring training? So that's a quote from one of them, but and all of them are more or less saying like, there's no way spring training's gonna start on time. There's no way. And collectively, what they're asking is, we're not going to start baseball until the players are all vaccinated. That speaks volumes. Because, yes, the vaccines are out. We know they're being distributed, but there's a hierarchy. Are
Hmm.
we really going to not see baseball until all players, now, of course, have to be forced to be vaccinated and get vaccinated? And that's when we can play? And if that's the case, like they said, are we going to be starting spring in May, potentially June? Is this going to be 2020 all over again?
I don't know, honestly. Um, I think the problem that they're going to maybe run into here is, and I don't know, we'll have to see kind of, 'cause so baseball actually does have the luxury this time of, before they were like the first, right? Like they were, there was all this pressure for them to be kind of the first team to
Mm-hmm.
the first league to figure out, hey, how are we going to do 2020, right?
Right.
Um, Now with 2021, right? So I mean, we're still in clearly a public health crisis. However, um, the end's kind of in sight. Hopefully with the vaccination starting to roll out, like you said. Um, it's going to be interesting because I mean, you have NBA and NHL who are starting up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll kind of get to see how those work, kind of before making any kind of decisions, which I think could be a little bit helpful if they can learn some lessons from those two leagues. Um, yeah, I don't know though. I feel like if I mean they played games last year. They played games last year.
Right.
They 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 found a way to do it. Yeah, there were a few teams that didn't play as many games as others. I would find it hard to take any um, reasonable explanation for having a shortened 2021 other than just owners crying poor. Like, don't tell me that this is going to be about player health when we went through 2020, right?
Yeah. Right.
The 2020 season was clearly all about let's just play baseball, um, because we need to have a season, we need to make the money, we need to get some revenues, things like that. um, I would be hard pressed to believe any other explanation other than we're poor as a reason for doing this in 2021.
And I really think, so the players' side, and they've come out, the
Mm-hmm.
MLBPA's come out and said, well, no, it's 162, and I agree with them. If
Mm-hmm.
anything, they've proved this past season that they can do it. Like you mentioned, there was no vaccine. It was in the midst of the pandemic. We didn't know what was going on, what was really happening. When it first started. I mean, and like spring training was shut down because it's entered. So it was very, very new to all of us at the time. So MLB, even though they had their faults, I will still give them credit. I was surprised how well it was handled and worked out. I expected that MLB was going to be shut down at some point. I think we had like
Mm-hmm.
an over and under on that, or in jest or whatever. But I mentioned like I would bet on MLB not finishing the season, and they did, and actually pretty well. So if anything, the players, the organizations, all the people involved, proved to everyone, the world, that they can do this and do this successfully. There were some breakouts like
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned, but they basically got contained. After the season, it wasn't MLB's fault. Players doing what they want and causing stuff in the Dominican
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals again. But but I mean, like during the season, there were protocols in place. For the most part, all the players abided by them, and they were fine. If not, they got traded to San Diego. Um, but I just feel like the owners are looking at this and seeing, like you said, it's an excuse. It's a built excuse for them. They're looking at this and saying, yeah, there is an end in sight. We probably will be able to get fans in the stands next year, but probably not until when, Jim? Probably as people are talking, it's going to be around July. Once the vaccine's really getting rolled out, most people have it. It's going to be maybe about July, but like around June, July is that fans can start really attending the games. And I think the owner's looking at this and saying, well, here's a great excuse to not have baseball until that happens. Why have 60 games where there's no fans and we can cry that we're not going to get any revenue again? So let's not have those games. Let's start up in July and we're good. We pay the players less money. Now we start getting the same income as you normally would have. We're fine. That's what I look at this as. And what I find this to be just so obnoxious is the fact that, again, yes, this is the season. After the season, we're negotiating at a CBA. You already did the players dirty. Like there's already a bad taste in their mouth from last season. And you're going to do this to them again and then try to negotiate a CBA. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had one shortened season, potentially now a second shortened season, and now you're just asking for a lockout. 3 years in a row, MLB is going to start playing these games. And you have, your commissioner, Rob Manfred, talking about how we need to get people into the game. And you're trying to shun them out. 3 seasons, you're potentially looking at 3, not lost in the fact they didn't play, but 3 lost seasons in the fact that it was just a shit show.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. Because, I mean, you had a shortened season in 2020. This would shorten the season in 2021. And it's just going to further upset the players, because of the reneged deal that, in 2020 that, the players kind of dug their heels in and stuck to it. And I think the players ended up with a win, last year. So I don't know if the owners are maybe like, hey, they got to win. Now we need a win. So leading up to negotiations, they don't want the players to win everything. I don't know. It's going to get ugly again. If the owners really want to come out and say, you know what, we can't do 162, we're going to do 120, right? If that comes out, and then you're taking away 25% of players' pay for the year. They're not going to be very happy about that.
After you've already taken away a good portion from the year before.
Yeah. And I mean, and I know people like really dislike Scott Boras for some reasons, but I mean, Boris's quote on this from I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Mm-hmm. He says, we now know we can play the game and we can do it safely. With the vaccine coming, we can play it at an even higher level of safety. It's not a question of whether we can do it. We've already done it. That unknown has been erased.
Right.
So, end quote. So, I mean, right there, Scott Boras is like, why are we even talking right now? We've already shown that we can do this. Let's just do it. So yeah, I think that's going to be the thing here with me is if they shorten the season, it's not going to have anything to do with player safety. It's going to be purely the owners not wanting to dish out full salaries, I think, for another year.
I'm with you. Yep. They're crying poor and they're doing it again. Absolutely with you. It'll be appeared and looked at as if it's for the players' safeties and such. Mm-hmm. But deep down, that's not the real reason. It's revenue. It's because there's not going to be fans in the stands again to start the season. So then why start the season? Let's wait until there are.
Yeah. If it was about player safety, then there wouldn't have been a 2020 season.
Right. And then I know you got a few minutes. We'll wrap up here because of our issues. Yeah. But now with this also, they're tying in the fact that, as I was going to bring back up, there potentially is going to be a DH again. That MLB hasn't settled on that at all. So we were unsure. MLB, I guess, sent out a memo to say plan on no DH. So teams are planning on no DH as we're in the offseason. And now in the middle of December, it's like, well, we're probably going to have a DH, but we're not sure yet. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, we're at the point now, like people are free agents. There have been decisions made on rosters with, about non-tenders and things like that. This is something where it's another just fumbling of the situation. Like, just make a decision, like one way or the other. Who cares? Just come out and say, hey, we're going to have a DH or we're not going to have a DH. They keep feeding this stuff as in, we're expecting not to have a DH, but we're not really sure yet.
It's going to be like another negotiation tool for them to have a shortened season. Like that's it's all been designed. Man, I'm not one for all these conspiracy theories, but like this is it. They knew what they were going to do all along, and I'm with you, man. Like I just feel such terrible leadership. Such terrible leadership.
Like, how hard is it to just come out and say what it's going to be?
That's it. Make a decision. I am one who I'm a
Yeah.
proponent. No DH and NL. I like the disparity. I like that. But regardless, I see 2021 the new CBA there will be a DH. With me, who doesn't want to have a DH, and I'm like, just put in there. Just put in there. Just do it. It's gonna happen anyways. Just do it. So just do it. Just do it, MLB. Just put the DH in there. At least give these people who are
Yeah.
trying to run their organizations an idea of how they're trying to run it. Because you have a team like the Pirates who have Brian Hayes, Colin Moran, and Josh Bell, who has no idea what they're going to do with them. And Derek Shelton's talking about he's got to be creative to get Bell and Moran at bats. I mean, come on.
No, I mean, absolutely right. It's frustrating because I mean, we're well into the off season now, and we don't know what a roster is supposed to look like
Right.
for next year. Like, should the Pirates have a DH and it's different. Like for a team like the Pirates, I don't really care. But like, imagine if you're a team like the Dodgers or the Braves or the Cubs or the Mets, right? Who are spending money right now. Like,
yeah, like
you want
the
to
Dodgers,
know,
the Braves, not so much because they're good. But I'm thinking
Yeah.
of those middle. Like the Mets is a great
Yeah.
example to me. Like we
Like,
want to
you
be
wanna-
good. We're not there yet. How do we do it?
You need to know like what you need to be doing.
Right.
And if you don't tell us, hey, you're going to need somebody who's going to be a DH or not, like that's
I'm sure Dave Dombrowski right now would like
it's
to know
insane.
his
Absolutely
first
insane.
week on the job.
Yeah, like these people look how do you expect general managers to put together rosters when they don't even know what that's supposed to look like?
Right.
Like, imagine if like the NFL came out next year and was like, we're planning on having a quarterback again, but we might just make everybody just run the Wildcat.
We're not sure if we're going to have kickers anymore. And here you are with a bad kicker saying, do we go get one now or not?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm a little bit over just MLB. They've just this past. I've already like not been a big fan of them, the organization, Major League Baseball, for quite some time. But this past year, they've just been terrible. You've got just awful quotes from Manfred. There's this now. It just seems like everything they do. It's like just make a decision.
Right.
Who cares? Like just do something, and they're not. It's frustrating.
It is. Well, I know you got to go. We'll wrap up here. We'll end it on this. Rob Manfred is only here through 2024 still, so we still have him for quite some time, Jim. Great. All right, we're out of here. We'll be back tomorrow night on NS9 Live. Have a great day, Jim. Have a great day, everyone else. Bye-bye.
You too, guys. See ya.